And happy fasting, y'all. That's right. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood, and we are back for another one of our weekly fasts. If you've been hanging out with me, you know that, we do this once a week. And I've actually challenged you, if you've been following, if you've been with us, to incorporate at least one day a week where you are fasting. Many of you I've asked to move up to a 24-hour fast. That is, kind of work your way up to it. I am actually in the process of doing a 72-hour fast. It is now right around 12:30. We'll make it even. It's actually 12:48. I started my fast at 6:30 last night. Okay, so we've been going now for 6 hours. Yeah. So 12. 6 to 12. Yeah, there we go. So we've been actually going for about 6 hours. So I ate my last meal last night at 6:45. Okay, and so I'm going to be doing some check-ins as we go through the fast. As you know, I do this. I try to do this on a weekly basis. That's the plan. Many of you right now do spend some time where you don't eat. And fasting really is that time where you allow your body to process the food that we've had, that we've put in, and it begins to digest, and there's a whole bunch of other things that go on. If you've not kind of walked with us, you can go back and watch some of those early videos. They are actually on our YouTube channel, and you can get over there and you can watch them. In fact, in our series, and let me pull that up here really quickly for you. There is a series that we are in the process of doing right now, and it is called How to Put Your Diabetes in Remission, right? So that you can find on the YouTube channel, How to Put Your Diabetes in Remission. And we've been kind of walking through, you'll see some of our very first fast check-ins and some of the things that we've been talking about. We'll go through some of that tonight here as we get into this week's fast. But I wanted to come on. Like I said, it's been about 6 hours since we started the fast, and you know some of the terminology, so we'll walk through that here in just a little bit. Also, if you've not been to the channel before, I welcome you. I'm Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level, creating the life you've always wanted. And here in this new year, new you. What we're working on for adults with type 2 diabetes, how do we decrease the medication you're on? In some cases, how do we eliminate it? And for sure, how do we put your diabetes in remission, right? So that's the goal that we have, and we'll be working through the last several shows that we've had, and with these check-ins. So the first tool that I taught was fasting. So fasting. Why is fasting important? Fasting is important because during the fasting period, we are not putting eating energy into the body. And during the fast, it allows our body to process the food that we've eaten. It allows it to begin using it up for the general things that we've got to do. Eating, breathing, heart moving, thought process, our lungs, our skin, all the muscles that we use. The body needs energy. And so that initial period of the fasting allows the body kind of break those down and begin using it. But we also have stores, right? Those stores are called fat cells. There's also some storage that's in the liver called glycogen. So the body cannot get to the fat stores until it's used up the energy that you've already put in. Okay, so a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm fasting," but we don't stop eating long enough to allow the body to then have to switch to burn the fat. So a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm not eating a lot and I've been doing this fasting thing, but I'm not losing weight, or my blood sugars are not improving." Well, part of the reason for that could be that we're not giving the body enough time to have to use up the energy that we've put in, so that it has to go to burn fat. Okay, that's that's kind of a nutshell. We've done videos in the past on that, so go back and watch those. And we will continue to talk more and more about this as we go. Okay, all right. So let's talk. Let's set a stage and let's see where we are in terms of our blood sugars right now as we get into this fast. Now, what I want to do is back and let's see. I'm going to grab a couple of. All right, so let's see if I can show it this way. So I was at the office when I had my last meal, and so this is what I had. So I had a couple pieces of cheese. I had some, and this was from the cafeteria, by the way, y'all. I had a hamburger patty. I had some chicken that you'll see up here, and I had some lettuce with some salsa. Okay. So that's what I had as for my last meal. And my blood sugar at the time, and I did take a picture of those. Here we are. So my blood sugar, according to my Libre, was 105, and according to the Dexcom was 121. 105, 121, right? So that was just that. You see the time up there. It was 6:57 when I did that. Okay, so that's my blood sugar at the beginning of the fast. And so what I want to do now is I want to take a look at my blood sugar currently, but also what I'm going to do is I have I gotta get that video out of there. That was what we did for breaking our fast, if you remember. So I do have my glucose meter that I also will use to check my ketones. I've got my ketone strips. I got my glucose meter and my Lancet there that we'll use here in just a minute. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up what my blood sugar currently is. Now, remember, I stopped eating about 6 hours ago, and my blood sugar currently is right at 106, right? And I'll go through and show you on a big screen here in a little while what I look for when I see patients in the office. We'll kind of review that. So that was that's my Freestyle Libre right now. And then if I look at my Dexcom says that my blood sugar is 122. Okay. So let me do something real quickly. Okay, there we are. So 106 is the Freestyle, and then 122 is the Dexcom. So that's where we are. What we're gonna do is check my blood sugar on the glucoketometer, and we'll see what that is, and we'll see what our glucoketo index is, right? GKI is the phrase that we use there, so that we can get a good baseline here as we get into the fast. All right. Okay, so let's hop over there and let's take that. All right. Let's pop here. All right. So I guess we'll start with the glucose strip. All right. So we put that in. And as you know, if you've been watching, I don't usually use the Lancing device. I just take the Lancet, and that goes right there. And we just kind of massage a drop of blood. That blood will get sucked right into the meter. Boom. Right. And while that's doing, I'm going to massage another drop, because we'll need a second drop here for so 116 is what the meter says. Let's take that strip out. We'll get this one in, and this is the ketone strip. And we'll see what our ketones are at this time. Okay, so we get a drop of blood that will get sucked right into the strip. And then we'll see that number here in just a few seconds. All right. That once again gives us a 6 hours in, right? So we're 6 hours in, and we'll see what that is. So my ketones right now are 0.2. Okay, so 0.2. So not very high. You remember we say that we want ketones to be, if we're talking about nutritional ketosis, we're talking about ketones higher than, well, we start at 0.5, right? But we want ketones higher than that. We really want it to be around 1 if we are talking about being in nutritional ketosis. And then let me hop over, and as you know, this meter has an app that goes with it that will suck that information off of the meter, and then it will give us a glucoketo index, or GKI. So it's should be syncing. There it is. So 116 is the glucose, and the ketones are 0.2, and that gives us a glucoketo index, or GKI, of 32. So pretty high. Right? So right now we're not in ketosis, right? Looking at the graph for the GKI and for the glucose and ketones and so forth, and this is what's been going on. So back here, at the highest, that was right when that was going into the end of the fast. So the fast ended maybe 5 hours after this, and you'll see that the ketones were very high. Glucose was 71, and this is about 3:51 in the morning on Saturday. Right there was right after we broke the fast. Okay, right as we were getting ready to break the fast, and so we were there. And then over the course of the week, you'll see as I ate, the glucose went up, and I think that went up to about 134, right? And ketones began dropping, and they dropped and dropped and dropped, and the blood sugar kind of stayed up there in the 120-30s. Came down here, or was down here. Here we are at 103, right? And so as I've eaten through the week, you'll see the blood sugars kind of fluctuating. And over that entire time, look at what's happening to the ketones, right? They've continued dropping from their highest right before we broke the fast, and continue to go down and down and down. And right here, they kind of crossed. Let me get rid of that graph. Okay. So right here they crossed, right at that left side of the screen, and they've kind of stayed separated, with now the glucose being up and the ketones being lower. Okay. All right. So that's where we are. That's where we are right now, 32, and we'll see what happens to the glucose and the ketones as we go through the fast. Right now it's about 6 hours in. So let me hop over, and I wanted to show you two of the devices that I use, or the reports of two of the devices. Many of you know that I've been wearing two CGMs. In addition to checking my blood sugar here on the meter, I've been using a Dexcom, and I've been using a Libre. And so I have those reports pulled up right now, and I want to go ahead and hop over and take a look at those. Okay. And so this one that we're looking at is this is the Freestyle Libre, and it's a Libre 3. It lasts for 14 days. So you put it in, and you change it every 14 days, and it basically records blood sugars throughout that time, right, at different indexes. Some of the CGMs will record it every 5 minutes or so, which is kind of standard. I won't get into the technicalities of the meter itself, how that works. That's a whole different conversation. But needless to say, this is some of the information that we do get. And let me get over here. I do need to get my pointer up so I can point at a couple of things that you can see. Right. All right. So there we are. So you should be okay. There you go. So you can see my mouse. Okay. And let me pop it up. So right here. Okay. So this is the Libre, right? So this is the Libre that we're looking at. And so in the office, I typically look at blood sugars on a meter for about 14 days. Now, the CGM, or continuous glucose monitor, gives us data that goes way back, right? So we can keep all the data. But I tend to find that the last 14 days are representative of what people do, right? Because we can look at 90 days, which is what the A1C shows us. But throughout those 90 days, we'll get different things that have been going on. And so what's going on with the person currently is what's typically going on in the last 2 weeks, unless there is something. Some people say, hey, I was ill a month ago, I was in the hospital, there was some stuff going on my job, and so that was what was going on a month or a month and a half. But as they start to say, okay, I've got to get things better, then these last 2 weeks kind of represent that. Okay, so that's why I look at 2 weeks. Sometimes we'll go back and we'll look at longer if we suspect something else is going on. But so 14 days, and you'll see that the CGM has been used 93% of the time. And the question is, why is it not 100? Well, there is some time when you have to change the continuous monitor. For instance, the Libre, you change it every 14 days. And so during the period of time when you're changing, right? So maybe it goes off, maybe you're at work, maybe you're in the shower, maybe you didn't put it right back on. And so I tell people, that during that period, probably about an hour or so, right, is what you should take to change. If you are on a pump, we have some other rules for that. But for these two, probably about an hour between changing time. Sometimes it will occur, or the change will occur. This thing will expire, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and it will stop working, right? Because I always say stop working. That's the expiration. And you may say, hey, I'm just going to sleep through the night. When I get up in the morning, then I'll put it back on, and that's perfectly fine. Unless you are somebody that is very prone to low blood sugars or fluctuations, and you do need that immediate data then. For instance, if you go low, 3-4 times a night, which you shouldn't do, that's something needs to change. Then you want to get up and put it on, that's fine. But most people, if it ends during the night, they'll wait until the morning. And so you'll see that it may not be 100% wear. Right. So the next thing I look at when I look at one of these monitors or one of these reports is I look to see what the average blood sugar is. And that's what we see down here. So average blood sugar for this is 92. Right, 92, which is a great number. I usually tell patients I want their blood sugar to be anywhere between 100 and 120. Now, if you read the guidelines will say that you can have a blood sugar fasting of between 70 to 180, which is a safety issue. But if we're keeping blood sugars between 70 to 180, we're having very different A1Cs, right? So doing about 100 to 120 for everyone gives us an average blood sugar or average A1C of about 6.5, right? Within reason. All right. So then the next thing I look at is the number that's right below that. And that is what the estimated, right? And I guess let me not say estimated, right? It's called the glucose management index. And it is a calculated number, and it's supposed to correlate to the A1C. Now, we can't say that it's an estimated A1C, but for non-technical reasons, we can probably say that. Okay. All right. So those are those two numbers that I look at, definitely. And then over on this side, see the red and the yellow and the green. So I tell folks that I want their blood sugars to be within target. I want them to be in the target number at least 79% of the time. Once again, if you read the guidelines will say that they want you to be in their 75%. We try to shoot a little higher. In this case, the average or the percentage in range, that is how often we are in the target range, is 85%. And that is, once again, a target range between 70 to 180, as I mentioned before. And then if you look at the top of this, you'll see here that we had some high numbers, right? So that's not the green part let me take that off and just go up here. So the yellow and kind of amber, right? So high numbers. And you'll see in this case, we did not have, right? So 0%, very high. So very high or greater than 250, and high is between 181 and 250. So no very highs, but we did have some lows, and those lows, if you recall, in one of our check-ins, we talked about the lows that we were having as we were fasting. Okay, as I was fasting. Okay, so 15% low, and then 85% in the target range, and that combination gives us our 100%. Okay. Then now let's scroll quickly and let's go to this graph or this diagram, and each of these boxes that you see here is a 24-hour period. So 24-hour there, 24-hour there, 24-hour there. So 7 days on top and 7 days on the bottom. And so that kind of gives you a good representation of what's been going on. And what we want to do here is this range between that number or that part. So this is where we want you to be. And that is 70 to 180. It's within the gray. And so if you look at these numbers, you can see where my blood sugars have been. All right. So here we're kind of straddling 70, here 70, and then we go up. And so this was going into, so we broke our fast. Actually, that was the week before. So this fast we broke right here. And that's why you probably see that this blood sugar kind of started climbing right there. And then throughout the course of the rest of the week, right, into Sunday, you can kind of see the fluctuations. And then Tuesday, we started fasting again. And then we saw the blood sugars drop into Thursday, and then Friday. And then we broke the fast right here. And then you start to see the fluctuations in blood sugar again. Okay. And here, so this, let's see, what did I eat Sunday night? I don't remember what I ate Sunday night. But you see those fluctuations. Okay. All right. So now let's go here, and actually let's scroll down to these guys. So one of the other graphs that it will show you is, or one of the other things that it shows you is this table, which is really a calendar. And so it's a calendar for the week, and it gives you what the average blood sugar was for the day. And so for this day, average blood sugar was 123. It also tells how many times we've checked it. We've looked at this number. It tells you how many lows we had on a particular day. So once again, here is average blood sugar of 63. We kind of looked at that thing 26 times, right? Because I wanted to see what was going on, and I wanted to record some of it so I could share it with you. Right. Boom. All right. And then let me hop over and look at this graph, or this. So this is where, so each of those boxes that we saw is expanded now, and we get to see what these numbers are. Let me see if let me blow this up a little bit. Boom, there we are. Okay. So, so Tuesday, right. So Tuesday evening, right about 6:45, I stopped eating, and then for the rest of that evening, all Wednesday, all Thursday, and then into Friday, I fasted. And you'll see that for this fasting, and I'm gonna blow it up a little bit more. That graph, okay, right there, you'll see that for most of this day, I really kind of straddled 70, right? And for a lot of it, I was low. So that's the red that you're seeing. Okay. All right. So, and then that was the Libre. And now let me hop over. And this is what the Dexcom shows. And similar to what we saw before, you'll see the average blood sugar here, 107. If you remember on the Libre, it says my average blood sugar was in the 90s. You'll see GMI, glucose management index, of 5.9, and the other one it was 6 point some. Actually, why don't we just hop back over there? Let's see. I think all the way up. Here we are. Yeah. So 92 on this one, and 55 for the average and the glucose management index. On this one, it is 107 and 5.9. Okay. Time in range is 95% of the time. On the Libre, it was 85% of the time. And then if I scroll down, similar to the other one, each of these boxes is a 24-hour period. So 7 days on top, 7 days on the bottom, right, is what we're seeing. And then let me see if I can go to daily. Okay, let's go here. And now I can look at, just like we saw in the previous graph, I can look at each day in a expanded view. And for here, one of the things I like about this graph or this report is I can scroll through and you can actually see the numbers at any particular time. And you'll see here, if you look at the times, this thing is recording every 5 minutes, right? Okay, so Tuesday, and this was last night. So let me see if I can back up a little bit. Okay, I've got to go back the other direction, I think. Yes. So last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What I don't have on this one is Wednesday. Okay, so the Wednesday before. But so this is the Thursday. So I've been fasting at this point at So at 12:30 on Thursday morning, right? I had been fasting for 24 hours. So at 24 hours, you'll see that my blood sugar really kind of stayed, 90s, 100s, and then it started dropping down into the 80s, 70s. And then it wasn't until Friday morning, right, at 12:30, and now we've been fasting for 48 hours. And then we start to see that blood sugar drop, and now we got below 70. And we stayed below 70 early part of the day. But then the blood sugar rose. And that right there, I love that rising. And so the question that we're asking is if I haven't eaten for over 48 hours, right? So right here is 48 hours. So 48, and then we add another 6, right? If we had another 6 right there, we're talking about 54 hours. And another hour, that's 7 o'clock. So 55 hours, my blood sugar is actually going up, and it goes up and it stays above 70 until later in the afternoon. And then as we start to approach time to break the fast, we start to see it fluctuate, right? So we're low, low, low. So here is the question right here. Why did it go back up? Because I haven't eaten. And the reason it went back up was because my body is generating energy from somewhere. right? Because it's not getting the energy from the food that I ate, because that's now gone, right? So it's digested it, it's broken down my glycogen, and now it has to find energy somewhere else, and it's now using fat. Is breaking down fat, and let me see. This was about. Let's see, what time was that? 7:01 on Friday the 19th. So let's see if I can find. Friday the 19th. Friday the 19th at. Let's see. What was my? Let's go back to in the afternoon. So Friday the 19th at 5:11 and 5:50. Okay, here, this is close enough. So what I want to do is I want to pull up for you what my ketones and what my blood sugars were at that time. So let's do this. Okay, there we go. So on Friday the 19th at, and I don't have one right at, let's see, 5:46. So this is 5:43. At 5:43, my glucose was 71, right? So this says it was 72, pretty close. And my ketones were 5.9, right? So remember, as the blood sugars go down, the amount of insulin that you have in your system goes down as well. As insulin goes down, the body then, and sugar goes down, the body then has to find another source. And it goes and it breaks down fat. And in the process of breaking down fat, that's where the ketones come from. So that's why you see if the blood sugars are high, the ketones are going to be low. And if the blood sugars are low, the ketones are going to be going up, because the body can't burn both at the same time. It cannot burn fat or it cannot use fat or ketones and glucose at the same time, right? Can't be done. So it has to make a decision. So if there's sugar there, it's going to preferentially burn sugar. If there's no sugar, then it's going to go try to find ketones, and in order to get those, it breaks down the fat. Okay, or I guess it breaks down the fat, the ketones form, and then it uses it. All right. So that's what the blood sugars were doing in the afternoon or in the evening as we were getting ready now to break the fast. And then if you remember the show that I did where I actually broke the fast, go back and watch that. Right here, I started eating. And then you see now what happened for the rest of that day. That's Saturday. And we went up and up and up and up. And right here was when, if you remember, I did a show when I said, man, I don't know what happened. Right. And here's Sunday. Right. So Sunday we're in the 130s. We got a spike there to 149. And we come down to 106. And then we spike. Right. So that's eating. Right. And this one actually got up to about 180. And I'm trying to think what I ate on Sunday. And then, of course, here's Monday. And Monday for the morning was fine, because I actually do, in addition to my weekly fast that I do intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, as they say. And so I didn't eat until about 12 o'clock. So right about here. So I didn't eat until there. And then you see there's a little bump there. And then we start to come back down. And then here's Tuesday, kind of a similar pattern. And we're eating there. And then, of course, Wednesday, going into Wednesday. And that's Wednesday morning right now. Okay. All right. So that is kind of where we are. And just wanted to come in and do a little check-in to let you know where I am, let you see where I am. That's the Libre and the Dexcom, two devices that I use to monitor. I don't have to use both. I use both, though, because I can show you the differences between the two and what they're showing. And then in addition to the Keto Mojo meter that gives us ketones and also gives us blood sugar. All right. And we'll come back and we'll check in with you as I continue the fast. It's a 72-hour fast. I do it because it provides me lots of benefits, right? Really lots of benefits. And remember, as we're fasting, one of the reasons for fasting is that we are not putting any carbs in. We're not putting in any sugar, right? So the body, when we fast, has to use up the sugar, the carbs that we've put in. It has to break down glycogen, and then it has to go and find energy somewhere, and it finds that in the fat cells, and it breaks the fat cells down, and that's where this ketones come from, the things that everybody is kind of talking about. So what is the benefit for blood sugar? The benefit for blood sugar is that we have good control of blood sugar during the time we're fasting. Right? It's an initial, so during fasting sometimes is the first time people have realized that they can have good blood sugars, that they can have consistently good blood sugars. So one of the benefits, one of the reason I teach this at one of the very first tools is that it allows you to see what happens if we don't eat carbs at all. Because what way people talk about low carb diet, what lower carb diet that can you have than no carbs at all, where you're not putting anything in? Okay. Now, in terms of the fast itself, the body does not use up all of the stored carbohydrates or glycogen for at least 24 hours, which is why I've been encouraging you to work your way up to a 24-hour period, because it's not until then that our body really is kind of switching over to burn fat. So blood sugar wise, it's a great way to control our blood sugar, or begin controlling our blood sugar, because during the time when you're fasting, hopefully your blood sugars are good enough that you don't have to take insulin. However, let's take a look at this guy and remember, or you saw that even though I was fasting, my blood sugars did not get down below 70 until I had been fasting for at least 48 hours. So that was when that started happening. Okay. All right. So the fasting is a great opportunity to see what happens to blood sugar. It also is a great way to lose weight, because when we fast, we force the body to have to go and find energy elsewhere, because it does not have that ready access to the carbohydrates, because the carbohydrates at 24 hours is gone. The glycogen is gone on average for most people. And so now where does the body get energy from? It has to go to our stores, and our stores are called fat cells. And that's why I encourage people at least once a week to do a 24-hour fast. That's the place that we start. Right now, I'm doing a 72-hour fast, and we'll talk more about that. Well, before I go, let me do one thing. Let's hop back over and let's take a look to see where my blood sugars are. 129 according to the Dexcom, and 114 according to Libre. Right. So this is now. So we've been on actually for a little bit. So I'm right now at about 6.5, almost 7 hours since I've eaten. And recall that our ketones were 5.9 and glucose was 71 at the time. Actually, no, not that one. That's one of the ones we just looked at. So let me pop back up. And yeah, this is what our most recent one was when we started the show, with glucose of 116 and ketones of 0.2. So what should happen is, as we get into the fast, as I continue into the hours of the fast, we'll see that the blood sugars will drop, the ketones will rise. Okay, blood sugars drop, ketones will rise, and we'll do more check-ins as we go through. All right. Well, I am once again very excited that you were able to join me. So go ahead, if you have not been doing the fasting, if you are if you right now don't eat for 8 hours, make it 10, and then 12, and then 14, and then 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So let's work our way up to a 24-hour fast at least once a week. And we'll talk about what we do going forward from then. Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, thank you for being here. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And now here in this new year, new you. All right. Bye-bye.